the idea of selling feels so foreign to me. And at the same time, thinking about you're not selling to make a buck, but you're selling because you're working to serve someone else and provide value. That was cool.
Yeah, and that's where some of the tactics feel a little more like they're designed not from generosity, more from converting and how to make the number go up versus how do I show up, help others get to where they want to go. And every time I approach selling as a service, like you just said, it comes easily.
Welcome back to In Residence. I'm Keith.
And I'm Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Keith.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on with you?
Oh, gosh. It's been a while since we've recorded.
Mm-hmm.
I had a work trip. Have spent pretty much 2 weekends outside in the garden, around the yard, weeding, lots of weeding. Child 2 actually said that I one-slurred the garden. Like in the Lorax, like I deforested the garden. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. It looked like you had already planted the garden.
Oh, yeah.
Except for it was weeds.
It was weeds and rogue raspberry bushes that were taking over everything. So I had to pull all that out. So I have found muscles that I haven't realized I had for about a year.
Because they're like throbbing.
Because they're throbbing and tight.
Yeah.
But gosh, I love gardening.
Yeah.
I love being out in the dirt and digging in. So it's been a really great couple of weekends. But I'm tired and sore.
We've, like June is the month where we kind of said to each other, let's not do too much. Like, of like going places. Because May felt like it was an entire month of going places.
It pretty much was.
Yeah.
About 3.5 weeks worth of it.
And so, to be home and to get back in the groove, or it's gardening season for you. So to get back into that, and for me to try to get back into my routine.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But yeah, it feels like it's been a long time since we recorded because we kind of tried to do quite a few before we were gone for a couple weeks in a row there.
Yeah. It's nice to be back in the studio with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been tinkering. I adjusted the setup a little bit and got like another monitor up and got the mixer. So yeah, been tinkering. So now it's time to actually put it to use.
That'll be good.
Yeah. One of my routines is to look at my week ahead and kind of like write down like my schedule.
Okay.
Because I kind of make my own schedule, right?
Right.
And I'm not necessarily invited to a bunch of meetings like you. I have a few, so I have a little more freedom, but that also means I need to be mindful and thoughtful and make sure I don't just let the week kind of blow by without doing much. And so I've got this one meeting that I go to on Sundays that is all about planning and setting myself up to have a good week, right?
Right.
And so I'll look at my calendar and I'll like fill things in, right? And reflection is part of that. And so today I was like writing in a little reflection time and had an epiphany, which I think I've already known. Writing and talking, so like what we're doing right now, is like really integral to my processing and my understanding. I listen to things, right? But then if I don't write about it or maybe talk with you about it, it kind of dissipate out of my head and I forget about it. So whether it's a podcast or a YouTube video or an audiobook, right? Like we talk about those things. So the epiphany is that the writing and communicating about the things that I'm taking in or experiencing, that's integral to me becoming a better communicator and a better at connecting both with myself and with others like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's something I've known, but today for some reason it was like, I need to make sure I keep journaling and writing and documenting the thoughts that I have throughout the day. So that's why I always have that notebook around. Even 2 days ago when I was doing dishes and listening to Gary V's new book.
Mm-hmm.
And I would stop like every like 30 seconds and dry my hands so I could write something down. And which reminds me of like you were telling me that we should get there's some paper that's like waterproof.
Yeah, something for in the shower.
Yeah. Well, I'm like,
or like by the pool.
Well,
right?
I should get it so I can do it have it while I'm doing dishes.
Actually, that's really smart.
Yeah. And so all that to say, I think, did you listen to all of Gary Vee's book?
I did.
I'm not quite all the way there, but you were talking about that. And then I kind of had this epiphany, and part of it was my experience listening and taking notes, and how I wasn't just writing down everything that he was saying. It was what I was thinking about because of something I heard him say. And so that's kind of that aha, like, oh, this is where me writing things down and talking them out really helps me process and think about what I think about. I think that might be a segue into something you wanted to talk about, because you mentioned you listened to Gary Vee's book and Seth Godin's This Is Marketing.
Yes.
So what do you got?
Yes. So I spent a lot of time in the garden with my, can't remember what they're called. Earbuds.
Yeah, you had your earbuds in.
Yep. And I listened to Seth Godin's entire book, This Is Marketing, this weekend.
I think I came out, stumbled out getting coffee
in the morning.
And I was just like, hey, how's it going? And I was like, disheveled. I'm like, oh gosh, you've been up for a while. And you're like, I'm listening to Seth Godin's This Is Marketing. Oh, cool. I'm like, all right, I think we'll be talking about that at some point. But
yeah. So I listened to that, and I listened to Gary Vee's new book, Day Trading Attention, on my work trip. I was starting to talk to you a little bit about how interesting it was that they were both similar, but slightly different.
Yeah.
I really liked what I learned. They both had me think through. I wish that's the one thing I don't like about audiobooks sometimes, is if I'm driving or my hands are full of dirt and grossness.
Right. You can't stop and
I can't
make notes.
And make notes.
And that's when you listen a lot.
I do.
Yeah.
A lot of my takeaways, I think you were asking me yesterday, just about takeaways, are really high level. I will say with Gary Vee's book, I love the Audible version because I can't tell you how many times he said, okay, I'm going to go a little off script here.
I love that.
And then he goes on a whole different, really cool example or very specific thing. And how many times he also said, you really should just buy the book. It's important for you to also buy the book because it's really pretty. And you could look at the PDF attachment, but you really should buy the book. That's fun. I think we had gotten both, right? I think you got
we have a hardcover.
I was like, well, I'm going to have to read that later.
Mm-hmm.
But he had some really tactical things that you could do to help really get attention and leverage social media to get the word out there about whatever your message is, whether it's for a business, for your own personal brand, you're building your brand, those sort of things. He had some really good tips and pointers where I felt like This Is Marketing. It wasn't so much tips and pointers. It was much more philosophical in a good way. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I know you've read This Is Marketing, and then you're also working your way through Day Trading Attention. What do you see as some of the big comparisons?
So far, the biggest thing that stands out, and because I've listened to Seth's stuff for years, and you even said to me, you're like, you say things like this. I can't tell if it's because I've listened to him so much or because it simply is how I think about it.
Yeah. One of the things that you say all the time, and he said in the book a lot, was people like us do things like this.
Yeah.
And so people are looking for companies or others that are people like them who do things like they do. You say that a lot from we do things like this because this is the kind of people we are.
Yeah.
Is how I hear it.
Yeah.
But what I was getting from the book was when I'm looking to do business or to buy something or to purchase a product, hire someone to redo our roof.
Yeah.
I'm looking for people that align with how I do things from a value perspective. Thought that was really interesting because I agree with the way you say it, but it expanded my understanding of it when I heard it in the book over and over. I really like that repetition in different examples, but that people like us do things like this. I love that.
Yeah. The way I've applied it is based on decision making. but I haven't had to make business decisions. And so when I'm talking to you about certain things of should I do A or B, it's not about should I spend $1 million over here on marketing or should I A/B test the website over here? It's more of how do we want to show up? So that's why I kind of relate it to that. To bring it back to the like a similarity I see with Gary Vee, he talks about cohorts, and he'd mentioned psychographics too a little bit, and that's where I see a similarity where Seth will talk about genre and who is the specific person you're seeking to serve, and so there's a similarity. There's just a little different vocabulary, two different voices talking about very similar thing, and how important it is to know who your audience is.
Yeah, I forgot about that with Gary Vee's book. But the idea of who is your cohort and how specific.
Yeah. Well, and because he goes into tactics about it is like, and how to target Facebook ads and how to pick the person who's not just into Apple products, but they also are in a basketball league. Mm-hmm. And so he gets really granular and tactical, where I think you need to get granular and tactical in your thinking about how you're going to approach the work that you need to do so that you can serve people you're seeking to help change.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that I like about both Seth and Gary is that they're both very focused on what is it that makes you you and you're passionate about that drives you. Go do that and figure out how to serve people with the thing you're good at and that you love. I've listened to other books about how to kind of hustle and things like that.
How many people can you get to pay attention?
Right.
The masses.
Right. And not that I'm necessarily in the business of trying to do that, but it's often been in a book that has multiple other things too. And I'm not going to fault anybody if they're doing this, but even the idea of where is the gap in the market and figure out how to fill that gap, and you can make lots of money and only work so many hours a week. At one point, I came home after reading that book. I'm like, well, Keith, we could sell t-shirts online or, and it's like, but would that be fulfilling?
Is that how you want to spend your time?
Is that how I want to spend my time?
Right.
And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with selling t-shirts.
No.
I just know nothing about it.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm necessarily passionate about. Even if there was a gap in that need, that's maybe not one that I need to be filling.
There will be t-shirts at some point. I can feel it.
Oh, like our t-shirts?
Yeah.
Maybe
Merch.
one that says Ramble.
Sorry, I'm rambling.
Sorry, I'm rambling.
That'll be on a journal. That'll be on the cover of a journal.
What I find really interesting about that, I say that a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to hear from you. Why are you listening to these books?
There's a couple of reasons. One, from a professional standpoint, I'm in the role of selling and marketing and trying to share our story and find a way to have it be compelling for prospective students to come and enroll.
Yeah.
I like to listen to a lot of books, read articles, things like that may not necessarily be in my field to help unlock some of that creativity about how we do our work around enrollment management. The other thing too is as you and I are working towards another project that we have going together, that we're working to build something, I keep trying to think about how do you build that social media presence in particular. I am comfortable in some of the spaces, but I'm not comfortable posting. And I have a lot of questions about, do you build a brand on social or do you build your personal brand connected to a brand? And a lot of that, looking for the right answer and the right approach. I thought this was actually a little interesting. So when I was listening to This Is Marketing, it was really good, but I also noticed how it focused a lot on kind of the internet being important, and that Seth really talked about how to build that brand holistically in all that we do. One thing he said that I really, really liked was people will remember what you did. They won't remember what you said. So here's maybe an example. So last year at this time, we went on a family vacation to Road America, one of the Indy races,
Eastern Wisconsin.
And we had an Airbnb in a town nearby. I can't remember the town. But what I do remember is the morning before we were going to leave, the owner of the Airbnb that we were going to stay at called me and said, there's an issue with your Airbnb. The people that were staying in it before left it in a state that's going to require deep, deep cleaning. And we don't feel comfortable having you stay at that property. So we're going to upgrade you to a different property if you're comfortable with that. We said, okay. When we got to the property, it had this beautiful barn that had like a ping pong table and a shuffleboard and hangout spaces.
It was renovated.
It was renovated, beautiful.
Completely like furnished with like a bar and ping pong table and places to hang out.
Like the hayloft had like a TV and like board games and stuff upstairs. And the house was nice. They left a gift card to a local bakery. They had coffee. That left an impression on me that I don't remember all the details about the conversation other than walking away going, what on earth did those people do to the house?
Right. Yeah.
But what I do remember is he remedied it by giving us a better Airbnb in his network, having a gift card on the counter, having chocolates there. It was just, I remember what he did in that moment, not what he said on the phone. That's something where Seth really talks about that goes back to your brand. So I know, like next time we're in town, I'm going to look up properties that he manages. The point of people remember what you do, not what you say. And that's going to create that loyalty, that wanting to continue to do business with you or to engage with you.
Yeah. Telling stories. Once I realized that's what marketing is, it felt more generous, and it's something that resonates with me because I've always loved stories, and figuring out how to communicate an idea and understanding what other people hear and what they see is integral to helping them get to where they want to go or to see what you want them to see, right? Not in a manipulative way, but a generous way. And that is what that guy did for us, which is instead of just saying, sorry, the place that you rented is ruined, I don't know what to tell you. He said, okay, here's an upgrade, no extra charge. It's a little different location. And then we show up and there's even more things to make us feel special and make us feel like he is not simply taking our money so that we can sleep somewhere. He wants us to enjoy our stay.
Yeah. And we really did.
Yeah. So I began with writing is really important because it helps me process, but telling stories, right?
Yeah.
And so what's the story I'm telling myself? What's the story other people are telling them? You need to take all that into account, especially when you're talking about if someone's trying to pay you a bunch of money to rent a space from you, you need to know how to communicate and how to navigate situations that you might not have seen coming.
Right. Yeah. One thing that Gary Vee talked about that piqued my interest, and it helped, well, it didn't help me entirely yet.
Is it challenging you, or you're just having it into practice?
Putting it into practice and figuring out what might it look like. Okay. Perhaps.
All right, tell us.
He was talking about, because I've had that back and forth, like, are my social media accounts for me as a human individual? Are my social media accounts for the business? Do I have a business account and a personal account? Do I have a line where neither the two shall cross?
My guess is he says yes.
Yes. So this is the thing that piqued my interest. He said that although business accounts are important, if you can build a personal brand of leaders in an organization, you can have greater presence, engagement, and kind of, he didn't say stickiness, but kind of that stickiness.
Yeah.
I've had that debate about, is my Facebook page to post pictures of my garden, kiddos, things I'm interested in, articles, leadership quotes, or is it simply something where I can be all of me and connect? It's more that. And so there's a part of me that feels a little more calm about that. But he talked about different strategies around that, which is good, about having the personal accounts, having the business accounts, and the role that each of those play. And like you said, there's a lot of good tactical things in there. But I thought that was really interesting. What do you think about that?
I think it's good. It kind of gives you permission to go and play and to simply experiment and not be so wound up about whether or not it's right.
Right.
It's like, post the picture, write the thing you were thinking, repost somebody else's thing with your own little take on it or why it stood out to you, right? I mean, that's kind of what this conversation is. We're reading these books and this is what stood out and this is why. It helps the thing that helps spread.
Yeah.
And to not overthink it and be like, oh, did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that's part of where we both come from. I like that he is saying, go and do it. Give it a try. If it doesn't work, try something else.
Okay. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
When you said not to worry about saying something right or writing, I wrote a response today to our friend Heat.
Oh, yeah.
And she had put some really pretty pictures up. And I love cactuses.
Cacti.
Well, that was the thing. I have been thinking about this now for I can't tell you how long.
What the plural of cactus is?
Yes. Is it cactus?
Do you have a Google machine
deer?
in your pocket?
Well, I Googled it. I did.
Okay.
And so what I wrote was cactuses with an ES.
Yeah.
And it said that technically that's correct, but it sounds weird, which it does.
Yeah, it does.
When I say it out loud, they said, so really most people will say cacti.
Yeah.
And, but cacti is similar to like octopus, octopuses, octopi.
Yeah. It's exactly what I was thinking.
But then is it like cactus, where cactus is like deer instead of deers or deer is? Anyway, so I went down this whole rabbit hole. And this is my problem with posting things because I go, oh my goodness, I don't even know the plural of cactus.
Right. And
who am I to post anything?
Well, and the grammar police are the only people that care.
That's fair.
Me sometimes.
But I just had to own. I was going to edit it and I'm like, nope, just own it loud and proud.
Yeah.
You did it.
Who cares?
I think I would use cacti next time though.
I would just use them interchangeably and just have fun with it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I tell you, though, those little moments, right?
I remember seeing those pictures now. They're really pretty.
Really pretty.
Yeah.
So, Keith, I did something this week.
What?
I got a Snapchat account.
Oh, geez. That's right.
Remember?
I remember you telling me that. I'm like, what? Oh, gosh.
And I sent you, so...
You made me log into mine.
I did.
And I haven't been on it in I don't know how many years. Oh.
So I got a Snapchat account. I sent you some snaps and there wasn't anything weird about them. We were just having a conversation back and forth.
Yeah.
But then I had a panic. I'm like, what if everyone else saw my conversation with my husband in the snaps? Do you call them snaps?
I don't know.
I think so.
I have no idea.
Okay. I found out that you can put a story just like you would on Instagram or Facebook, and that shares with everybody you're friends with, where if you do a one-on-one snap, that's private between the people that are on the snap. I thought that was kind of cool. The reason I did it was, so in Day Trading Attention, he talked about really understanding the different social media platforms and playing with them, understanding all of the, now I'm trying to remember what he called it. Was it like native app functions?
Like the platform specific?
Yeah, platform specific options. So basically, you wouldn't take something or shouldn't, or it would be better if you didn't.
If you use the native way to post in each platform, it'll optimize the reach. If you create for each platform specifically the way that it wants you to.
Correct. And the thing that I really haven't thought about in the past is that the whole purpose of social media is to try and get users to spend as much time on it as possible. I don't know why that was like a big epiphany for me, because I doom scroll or just scroll.
Mm-hmm.
quite often, right? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, but that makes sense to me. And so really by using the in-platform options, that is designed to really help try and boost the content to get users to stay on longer. And so then you're actually rewarded, so to speak, with your content being pushed out to more people. I thought that was cool.
Okay.
What? You're looking at me like,
Well,
yeah, I knew that.
So, yeah, but like, and this is where it gets a little tricky for me to care because I get stuck on platforms wasting my time. Do I want to spend my time working for the platform so that they make money? Because it's free, which means we're the product, right?
Right.
And so that's where I start to like get disinterested because the only thing that's really winning is Facebook or Instagram or Google.
Is it though?
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, financially maybe, but I find enjoyment.
No, I know. But that's my point is like, where do you extract the value for yourself and not let them take it from you by doom scrolling?
Yeah.
I mean, and so like as a content creator, it's up to us to create good content with good intent that's going to help other people, right?
Right.
That's the game I want to play. And yeah, if I have to use social media, it's free distribution, right? I just want to make sure that I'm using it the best I can in the best way I can to help make the change I want to make, right? And help the people that I'm seeking to connect with. Like that's where my brain goes with all this stuff. You start talking about like tactics and like how to get, this and that. Like I know that you gravitate towards the things of like, how can I check this off? How can I get it done? And that feels like Gary V to me. He's the same way too. Like he's all about like, how do I give the most value to the people? Like he'll say like 51-49. You give more to the people you're seeking to serve than you keep for yourself, right?
Right.
I'm not trying to bag on him.
No, I mean, that's true. I mean, that's his whole book. Jab, jab, hook? Right hook. Gosh, I always get it wrong. I haven't actually listened to it. That's one I should. Do we have that one?
It's in our library, I'm sure.
I might need to. But jab, jab, right hook. That's the whole premise of that. Jab, 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 right hook.
Yes.
So it's give value, then ask.
Yes.
Yep. So, I mean, I do think that generosity that Seth talks about and the generosity that Gary V talk about do align, even though, like you said, they do it slightly different. Like Gary V might be more, you thought, more alignment with me?
I think you align more with the tactics because it's like your kind of go mentality.
Go. Yeah,
yep.
That's me.
Just get it done. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Throw the paint on the wall. And I'm like, okay, we got to tape this off. I got to cut the edges really well. And no one's going to see it because it's in a dark corner, but I'm going to do my best to do a straight line by hand. And yeah.
Oh, gosh. I could never. Yeah. I appreciate you.
Good. I start to feel like, okay, is that the best use of my time and resources and energy?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a game I want to play, either of being on all the social media platforms.
Right.
He doesn't necessarily say you have to, right?
No.
And I don't care if he said I did. I would just be like, okay, where do I feel like hanging out?
Right. And I think his main point was once you're on one, eventually it becomes congested or it's harder to get attention. This is, again, like that idea of the more content that's out there, the less attention it's going to get. But maybe this all comes back to, do we want attention?
Instead of getting attention, it's like, how do you earn it?
Right.
That little nuance.
That goes back to Seth.
That nuance is really important to me.
Yeah.
And how I want to show up.
I get that. So the question I have for you, you do all of our social for the podcast.
Which means that we don't have social.
Yeah. So I guess my question for you, are there things that you either heard in Gary V's book or you remember from Seth's that you're like, oh, we should try that? Or are there things that you're already doing that you're pulling on from those works?
I mean, if I'm going to play the social media game, I'm going to pull from Gary V. If you just watch what comes out on his different social media, you'll see it's like a masterclass in how to show up. Like in his book, the biggest thing is he's like, pay attention to the culture. It'll inform you how to show up. But like that's a strategy that he'll talk about is like, again, I didn't get super far in the book, but I've listened to his stuff in the past. But like he was saying, he's like, if you're a dentist and you want to inject Drake into your social media account, that would be really awkward. Actually, if you do that, email me and tell me that you did it or something. That'd be really interesting. You know, it was something like that. It's like I don't want to pay attention to culture broadly so that I can like take from it and like appeal to people. I want to be part of a culture and talk about it because I'm part of it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, I don't need to, it feels manipulative if I were to like, what's my target market? How am I going to get them to pay attention to me? Okay, they're into A, B, and C. All right, so it's like, that just feels like not a lot of fun to be, I guess, that targeted or, you know, but like, just because like it doesn't feel generous, but I might also be like kidding myself about like the way business actually runs or works. I don't know.
The one thing that just came up for me that we've talked about the last couple weeks, but not real in depth, but again, it's coming from This Is Marketing, is that selling is serving.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to wrap my head around that because the idea of selling feels so foreign to me. And at the same time, thinking about you're not selling to make a buck, but you're selling because you're working to serve someone else and provide value. That was cool.
Yeah. And that's where some of the tactics feel a little more like they're designed not from generosity, more from converting and how to make the number go up versus how do I show up, help others get to where they want to go. And every time I approach selling as a service, like you just said, it comes easily.
Right.
I'll find myself selling somebody on something because it's made my life better, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's an iPhone or a certain pair of headphones or a book, right? Like we're talking about these books because they've made an impact on us and they're helping us work through things.
Right.
And that's, you know, like you spent a day listening to each one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm after is how do I show up and do that versus it feels like some of the tactics feel like how do I trick people into paying attention to me? And that's also maybe me just not quite spending enough time thinking about how would I show up and use those processes the way I want to use them. So I'm kind of aware of that too.
What if you had a service that you knew would serve people? Would you then use any of the tactics that Gary V had in his book so you could share it with more people?
Yeah.
Because that's strategic?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's basically like not going to sell snake oil to people, right?
Right. You're not going to sell t-shirts.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Well, no, there's nothing wrong with selling t-shirts.
No, like I said, there's nothing wrong selling t-shirts.
People need clothes.
Of course. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, is it Laura's business? Like only business? I probably wouldn't be great at just that.
Well, we don't need, I mean, there's plenty of businesses online where we can design t-shirts and send people there to buy the t-shirts from us.
Yeah.
That's where I got like my How Did This Get Made t-shirts, you know, and some other things.
Well, I was going to say, if you had me in charge, I'd have quirky sayings on everything. Mm-hmm. Like the shirt I wore yesterday that has like a cat with like dumbbells that says, check me out. Like a meow.
Meowt.
Check me out. Sorry. I love cheesy things.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
What do you recommend?
Well, I would recommend Day Trading Attention by Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V. And I would also recommend This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. Both really good reads and a lot of synergy between the two, even though they are unique and different. How about you?
Well, first I'll just say I love listening to both of those authors' audiobooks.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I recommend the Rich Roll podcast.
Oh yeah. You're telling me about this?
Yep, I go to it quite often. Not weekly, but pretty often. Another friend shared an episode with Dr. Phil Stutz from the documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
Right, and his tools, and he's a psychiatrist or therapist. I'm not doctor. He's Dr. Phil Stutz, right? So sorry if I know there's a difference. Anyway, it was a really good conversation. Is good to hear the things he had to say. But yeah, I really enjoy that podcast, and I go back to it from time to time, and they're long form, so they take a little longer, but I enjoyed that. And I was taking notes, and things were resonating with me, and I was sketching out like some little graphics for ideas I was getting from it. So there might be a t-shirt that comes out of that, or some stickers, or some merch. I was also listening to another random podcast I saw with Aaron Draplin, who is a graphic designer, and he's just merch. And I love it. He found a way to do that and make it. And so again, I like podcasts.
Look at you creating product.
Yeah, exactly.
I made our first bag.
Yeah. That was funny.
Got it from Shutterfly.
Shutterfly. Yeah. Did you take the podcast artwork?
I did. It's just us on a bag.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh, wow. We should like raffle that off for like charity or something. It was so funny.
That'd be really funny.
Okay. All right. Let's get out of here.
Sounds good, hon.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
I love you.
Merch. And I love it.